Peppa Pig is probably the most successful children's cartoon in history. But did you know it's also one of the cartoons with the most mysteries? Magical beings! Peppa's world is completely different from ours, as it's inhabited by talking animals and plants that live in a society. This seems almost magical, doesn't it? That's exactly why there's a theory suggesting that yes, Peppa's world is filled with magic. The basis of this theory is that the 3 cartoons created by the same makers of Peppa Pig are all set in the same universe. One of these cartoons, the most famous after Peppa, is Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom, which depicts a world where elves and fairies live. What supports this theory is the fact that in various episodes of Peppa Pig, we can spot the 2 main characters of Ben and Holly's series in books and on walls, like in the town's hospital. The same happens in the Elf and Fairy cartoon, where we also see references to Peppa's characters, such as a boy wearing a backpack with drawings of Mr. Potato. Or in Lucy's room, one of the few humans who know the secret of the magical characters, where there's a Peppa doll next to her toy chest. This shows that both Peppa and Mr. Potato seem to be very famous characters in Ben and Holly's world, just as the animals and characters from Peppa's town are aware of the existence of these small magical beings. And let's be honest, the existence of magic in Peppa's world would help explain many things related to the reality in which these characters live and the society they are a part of. But as we mentioned, this is still a mystery that has neither been confirmed nor denied by the creators of the Pig family's cartoon, and it's definitely not the only one. Check out the biggest mysteries of Peppa's cartoon with us now. So join the wave, because another episode of Cinewave is starting. Are fairy tales real? Since we mentioned that there might be magic in Peppa's world, it leaves open the possibility that all the fairy tales that exist for us might be pure reality in Peppa's world. This is because in several moments of the series, we see references to some of the most famous tales. For example, in the episode where Peppa and her family walk to Grandma Pig's house, they find a house inhabited by a family of 3 bears, and on their table there are 3 bowls of porridge, just like in the story of Goldilocks. Or when Daddy Pig builds a house and Mr. Wolf tries to blow it down, just like the big bad wolf in the tale of the 3 little pigs. So could Mr. Wolf and the big bad wolf be the same character? Honestly, this seems very likely, since everything that happens in Peppa's world also seems to be drawn from a book called Animal Farm, where the pigs drive out the humans and take over the farm. So could all these stories really be connected? Why does Mrs. Sheep want to leave? In the episode Goodbye, where we see Peppa and Susie very upset because Peppa's best friend is moving away, we see that in the end, everything turns out okay, at least for the kids. That's because Mrs. Sheep receives a last-minute call informing her that the job offer was canceled. The job offer for Susie's mom would have forced them to move to another country with a completely different language, possibly China or Japan. What's interesting is that before receiving the news, we see Mrs. Sheep telling Mummy Pig that she was very happy, especially because she was leaving her country.
I'm so happy about this new job in a new country.
But why was she so eager to leave? And come to think of it, we've never seen Mrs. Sheep working at anything, so what kind of job could she have had the opportunity to take in another country? The fact is that when she receives the call, we can see her expression as one of complete shock.
They said I didn't get the new job.
Which really shows that she absolutely does not want to keep living where she is now. Does she not like the Pig family? Could this be the real reason? This is certainly another big mystery. And if you, like us, find all of this very intriguing, comment below with #secret. What is Mummy Pig's name? You might have never really thought about it, but the only member of the Pig family whose name we don't know is Mummy Pig. That's because, besides Peppa and George, we also learned Daddy Pig's name in the Valentine's Day episode, where we discovered that the patriarch of the family signs his card to his beloved wife as Snufflekins.
Hugs and kisses, Snufflekins.
However, even after 20 years of the Pink Piggy show and over 300 episodes, the name of one of the series' most important characters remains a big mystery. Maybe in the next season, we'll finally get the privilege of learning this information. Following the show's tradition, where most characters have first names and last names starting with the same letter, we can guess that her name probably starts with the letter P. Could her name be Patty Pig or Pamela Pig? How many humans are there? As we mentioned earlier, it seems like Peppa's world came straight out of a fun fantasy book. However, even though animals make up the majority of the population, we can also see some vegetables, like Mr. Potato and his family, and even a few humans who inhabit Peppa's pink world. But the big question is, how many humans actually exist in Peppa's world? Among those who have been seen and confirmed so far, there are 3: the Queen of England, Santa Claus, who is a magical being, and a pirate. However, just because we've only seen these 3 doesn't mean they're the only ones, especially if the theory we mentioned earlier is true and Peppa's world is connected to the other cartoons cartoons created by the makers of Peppa Pig. In that case, there could be many more humans, but they just don't live in the same town as Peppa or any of the other cities we've seen in the show, like Paris or New York. So, where do they live? We have a theory about that, which we discuss in another one of our videos. When this one ends, check out the video that's popping up now in the card.
Please do it, Larry!
Why so many human symbols? Continuing with the previous mystery, knowing that there are other humans, but they don't dominate the planet today, the question arises, why are there so many human symbols in all the cities we see in Peppa's show? Yes, because even though it's an animal world, we see for instance that in Peppa's book, Little Red Riding Hood is a human girl. We also notice that the Statue of Liberty in New York is a human woman, just like in our world. Moreover, in the episode where Grandpa Pig, Peppa, and George find an ancient gold coin in their backyard, we see that it has the image of a human Viking engraved on it. So if their world has always been as we know it, full of animals living in society, why are there so many human symbols and engravings? Could it be that the place where they live today was once where humans lived, before being driven out by the animals? That could certainly be an explanation, but we can't say for sure that's what happened, leaving the mystery unsolved. And even without knowing the reason behind this, we do know one thing: you should subscribe to our channel right now if you haven't already, so click the button and join our team. Who is the richest person in Peppa's world? This is definitely a mystery that leaves us guessing between three different characters, each with their own reasons for being very wealthy. The first candidate is undoubtedly Mr. Potato, who is Peppa's biggest TV superstar, with his own TV shows and even portraying Super Potato on television, even though they are different characters. Additionally, he owns gyms in several locations and also performs Christmas shows. All of this undoubtedly makes him very wealthy. Next, we have the Queen of England herself, who owns an entire palace just for her, and we see that the monarch possesses various gold items, such as her crown and throne, showing that wealth is something she certainly does not lack. And the final candidate is Miss Rabbit, who holds over 100 different jobs. Considering that she receives at least minimum wage for each job every month, we can deduce that she certainly earns a substantial sum, likely making her the character with the highest monthly income in the series. So it's really tough to determine who the richest character is.
That's crazy.
The character's ages. Officially, we know that since the beginning of the series, Peppa has been 4 years old and George has been 2 years old. However, if we take a closer look, we'll see that several annual celebrations have occurred multiple times in the show. For example, there have been 6 Christmas episodes in the series, and honestly, I don't think they all happened on the same day. Moreover, we've seen Peppa celebrate her birthday, which in itself would make her at least 5 years old. However, none of this has been confirmed so far, suggesting that the pink piggy has remained 4 years old since 2004, which means for 20 years. This definitely doesn't make much sense and has become one of the great mysteries surrounding the cartoon. Driving problems. Here's another mystery that's more related to the inattention of the animators behind the Pink Piggy show. You might not realize it, but the way cars are driven in England is different from most of the world. Called driving on the left, cars in England travel on the left side of the road, as we see whenever Daddy Pig takes his family out for a drive. Additionally, the driver's seat is also on the opposite side. However, in several other countries, like the US, where Peppa visits at one point in the series, both the side of the road and the driver's seat are reversed, as we can see when they go to Texas in an RV. But if we look closely, when the Pig family is in New York, we can see that the driver's seat is on the same side as it was in Peppa's homeland, England. So the mystery remains. In Peppa's world, is driving on the left standard in New York too? Or was this just a small mistake by the show's animators? These mysteries are certainly fascinating, but what's even cooler is that you can keep having fun with us, even without knowing the answers to these big questions. That's because we've left 2 awesome videos for you to click on and watch right now. Just pick the one you prefer. So, see you in the next video!